this super versatile. Hi guys, it's Eva, and today I'll show you how to go from some Atmo samples to top loops. Normally top loops are pretty static because it's just a loop of a couple of bars. Today I'll show you how to synthesize some of them in Faceplan. They're evolving, you can tweak stuff in real time, customize them to fit your track best, you can change the samples. It's really exciting to me. I've been using these types of sounds a lot. So I'll show you 2 ways to do this, and yeah, let's get right into it. First way to set this up is to use a couple groups with different Atmo samples. So let's take a look at how to do that. Use some kind of scape sample that is rhythmically interesting. Turn down the harmonic, play some notes, and see where the shift feels best to us. So where I like the sound to sit. I quite like it down here. Pretty realistic, but a bit too bright. So we're gonna add a filter. All right, this is cool. And then you can also check if you want some unison or some distortion. I think I'm gonna add some distortion here to give it a bit more bite. I really love how the different transients come out already. So how we're gonna set up this group is we're gonna make sure it sends to lane 1 and make sure all other lanes send to master. We're gonna use each lane for each different sound. So lane 1, we're gonna add a transgate as well as a transient shaper. Set that resolution to a 16. Make sure to turn the sustain down. You can just dial in some random notes on a transgate and just see where it ends up, because it's not super important at this point. You're just trying to make a bass pattern that's not too busy, so you can stack 2 other rhythmic loops on top. Add some pumping, turn down the sustain. We do this because we want a snappy type of percussive sound. Atmo samples are pretty dense, so we want to extract small hits from them. Let's hear what this sounds like right now. That's already feeling pretty good to me. We're gonna repeat the same process for 2 other groups. So the way we can do that best is to copy these groups by using Alt and dragging and making sure it goes to lane 2. Change the sample here to anything we like, turn down the gain a bit, and we're gonna make sure to copy these 2 and then tweak some settings. So we don't want the same pattern. Let's check this out. Let's tag, change the shift around. It can also be cool to modulate some stuff in real time so that it doesn't stay at the same pitch the whole time. All right, so we're gonna repeat that for another group, and I already did that here. Let's see. We have the same processing. I just mapped the macros to the gains here so I can have a bit more control over them in real time. So that already sounds pretty cool, but the thing that's missing for a top loop kind of feel is some processing. Normally, top loops are really processed, and that's also a cool part about them because of the way they fall into the track more. I did this here. This is the same patch, but I used Snappy, where I included some compression, a microphone, IR, to give it that mid-forward sound that top loops often have. I modulated some delay and added a small reverb. So let's hear that same sound with some processing now. The cool thing about these types of patches is that they're not just loops, but you can tweak them in real time. And that's, I think, my favorite part about this, because based on how you're gonna tweak those, you're gonna get a top loop that keeps developing and it's not just a 1 bar thing, because the sounds are longer and they keep changing and they loop at different time points. You're never quite gonna get the same sequence every time. So that's super exciting to me. If you want to take that further, you could modulate the attack and decay times here, check the transient shaper, maybe modulate some attack there, or simply add some more steps to one pattern. This would be 1 bar. We could also make it, say, 19, for example, and then the accents keep shifting. That way you don't get that static top loop feel, but you could print it, take out a couple sections that you like, and tweak it in real time to get the best feeling for the track you're working on. Another cool way to make something like this is to tweak some LFOs to be sequencers and to use them as a rhythm source. We're gonna start out with another Atmo sample. I used his because I wanted a versatile sound, and this is pretty high-endy, so it's easy to make hi-hats out of this. I added some distortion and some unison. This is what that would sound like. We're gonna make some custom LFOs. If you want more info on how to do that, be sure to check out the sequences and hi-hat sequencer patch, because that's a really cool patch that showcases a lot of this in great detail. And Lillian also made a cool video showing how to make some custom LFOs. The thing you're gonna do is create something that looks a bit like this. Let's hear what that sounds like. So here we already have a basic pattern, but because we want some more versatility, I added in another one that's on the other hits. So here you can see it. I want the other hits to be a bit louder, so you can see those are louder. I changed the output a bit here, and I'm setting them both to multiply. The gain is being controlled by both of these. The reason why multiply works well for this is because you can control the whole amount you're sending, so you could easily send less by just using this controller instead of tweaking both controls here. This is a really basic patch at this point, but if we add some processing and macros, it's really diverse. I have the same patch, but I added a bunch of macros based on different things. By tweaking the shift, I have some amplitude things for these things in the beginning going on, delay, verb, some distortion. So let's check out what this sounds like now. It's really cool to tweak some of these things because you can get totally different sounds by using this pitch controller, which is mapped to the frequency here. I can get some really different tones, and by tweaking some delay or high cut or changing the amplitude that's being sent out here, it creates a really diverse patch. I also added in some panning because that's typical for top loops. I'm controlling that with an LFO that's set to 1 bar. These are being set to half a bar, but it just depends on what pace of rhythm you want. You could also set them to a bar to get a slower pace. Because this is based on an atmo loop, you can easily use another one and get a whole different sound. Here I have the same patch, but I just replaced this sound, and now we can tweak that in whichever way we want. The thing that's also cool about this is if you want a longer sound, if you want a different decay, you can just tweak those LFOs you set up at the start to make the exact sound you want, or if you want to move an accent to somewhere else, which makes it super versatile because it feels like playing a patch and performing something instead of just dragging in a loop and maybe tweaking that a bit. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this walkthrough. If you like this kind of content, make sure to check out my last video where I used the same samples to create some tonal patches, so some pad and bell sounds. And if you like this kind of content, keep an eye out for the next video, and until then.